Hello, all my dear students. I hope you all are doing good. I am your facilitator Amit Ajmani, and I welcome you all to Sri Jendra Rank Zone classes to the next lecture of communication. In the previous lecture, we started up communication. We talked about the various types of communication. We talked about the need, the purpose, and the benefits of communication. And today's class is very important from your exam point of view because in this class we will be discussing about the various networks in communication. These networks are a part of formal communication that is being taken in a particular company or an organization. Now, what exactly is meant by communication network? First of all, try to relate that a communication network refers to the method and the pattern which is used by the members of an organization. Why? In order to pass on the information to other employees of the same organization. This kind of network is very important because it helps the managers to create various types of communication flow depending upon the requirement of the work that is to be completed. There are various hundreds and thousands and millions of companies in the world, and every company has a different way of communicating. Communication, we have already seen in the previous lecture that it varies from person to person. There are certain companies who have established and they have got predefined networks of communication for specific work, specific venture. What type of communication should be done in a company? There are so many factors that decide the structure of the communication within a company, like the size of the organization, how many people are employees, how many people are working in the organization, how many departments are there, what exactly is the nature of work that the company does, how interaction between the people takes place. Then the type of communication channels which are prevalent in the organization, the number of persons who are involved in the processes done in that company. So, depending upon all these factors, there may be various patterns of communication network. Fine. In this chapter, we will be focusing on the most common networks which are followed in the organizations. What are those common networks? The first network is the vertical network. Now, this vertical network is a very formal network. And this vertical network, as we have seen in the previous lecture also, the vertical pattern, it is usually between a higher ranking in employee and a subordinate because it is basically upward and downward. Therefore, the levels of the people communicating, that is different. This is a two-way communication in which two people are communicating with each other directly, and because they are in direct communication terms, the immediate feedback is possible. So we can say this is an advantage. You do not have to rely on somebody else. This is what a vertical network is. There is a senior or a supervisor or a manager or a director, whosoever he is, right? And there is a subordinate, an employee at the junior level. The communication is flowing. The messages are coming from the superior to the subordinates. Now, what kind of messages they possibly can be? The various instructions, the various guidelines, the various advices, the various experiences, or the orders, or the requirements, right? Or the detailing part. They need to know all the details. So the supervisor is communicating with the subordinates, asking or telling something. Now the subordinates are also interacting with the supervisor by way of providing all the data, all the information that has been asked, or the feedback of the work in progress. So this is a kind of vertical network going downward and upward. This is between two people at different levels. Now the second one is a circuit network. What exactly is circuit network? When the two persons communicate with each other, sending the messages and feedback, then they form a communication circuit. That is why it is known as circuit network. Now these two people need not be the boss and the employee. They may be colleagues that are placed at the same hierarchical level in the organization. Kind of horizontal network, you can say. Right? So it may be between two colleagues, it may be between two different managers at different levels, it may be between employees of various departments, right? So A is providing any message to B is providing any kind of feedback or advices, anything, sharing messages. So this is a circuit network. The third one, quite importantly, is a chain network. Now, what exactly is chain network? Please try to relate and understand it. The communication pattern that follows the chain of command from the senior to the junior, that is called a chain network. In this chain network, the communication, it starts at the top. For example, the director or the CEO of the company, he is actually trying to communicate, or he is trying to convey some message, and this information, this communication, this message from the CEO work its way down to the different levels of employees. It may be in the form of commands or instructions or details of any new project or whatever is the plan of action, anything. And these are the commands and instructions given by the seniors, the supervisors or the manager or the director or the CEO. From there, this message information is provided to those who are working under him in the organization. Let us try to relate it with the help of a figure. In this figure, first of all, let me read this particular point so that it becomes easier for you when I explain it to you in the figure. Let us say that A is a chief. He is the senior, right? In any organizational hierarchy, he is at the upper level. And there are various subordinates B, C, D, E, F, G. These are the hypothetical representations we have made for the employees, the subordinates. Now A is providing any command, and that command is delivered to all other subordinates, right? This is chain network. A is at the top level. He is conveying the information to his subordinates B and E, and from there it is flowing to other subordinates. This is a chain network. Now the problem with this chain network is, quite importantly, this often is very time consuming, and the communication may not be clear, and it's a very formal way of communication. It maybe indirectly shows bossism, right? So this is the diagrammatic representation of a chain network, in which a chain of command is actually transmitted to the subordinates by any particular senior. Fine. Next, very important, it has been asked a few times in the examination: wheel and spoke network. What is this? Let us try to understand. If there is an organization where there is a single controlling authority, there is a single person who is controlling all the activities, who is giving instruction and orders to all the employees working under him, then in that case, wheel and spoke network is followed in the organization. Here, all the employees are getting all the instructions, all the commands directly from the leader, and they will report back to him directly. So this is a direct and efficient communication if the business is small, when the company is small, because over there is one leader, one at the top level, there are 3, 4, 5, 8, 10 employees. So it is very feasible and convenient, or it is not that much uncomfortable to be in touch with each and everyone. But when we talk about large organizations, in that case, this wheel and spoke network, it is inappropriate way of communication. It doesn't hold good there, because there you cannot interact with each and everyone. Supposedly there is a company which is having employees 3,000, 4,000, 10,000 employees. How is it possible that every one of them is going to come to you to report? How is it possible that you need to go to each and every person individually to deliver some instructions? So this wheel and spoke network, this is inappropriate when it comes to large organizations, right? If wheel and spoke network is followed in such large organization, then there are so many employees. They need more decision makers. They cannot rely and wait for one person to take all the decisions of each and every one, and thus nothing would get done. And the most important drawback is if the leader is incompetent, the central figure, the person who is responsible for tackling, for managing everything, he is incompetent, he is not up to the mark, he doesn't deserve his position, then obviously the whole business is going to suffer because of him. Now let us see diagrammatically what exactly this wheel and spoke network looks like. Here, this A is the leader. These B and C and D and G and F and E are the subordinates. Look at the arrows, how information is coming and going. A is giving information to B, and B is liable to report back to A. Similarly, A is giving instruction to C and C is reporting back. And likewise with all the other employees. It is a kind of vertical network taking place with many people. Getting my point? Are you able to relate it? That it's a vertical network but with different people. And all these people B, C and D, they do not have any kind of interaction with each other whatsoever. So even though this type of communication in small businesses becomes effective, that a single person, he knows what task he has given to whom, he knows he is taking the direct feedbacks, but when it comes to large organizations, it doesn't work out well. Fine. So this is our wheel and spoke network. Next is our star network. Now this is what a star network looks like. This star network has multiple channels of communication which are open between all the members. And this is one of the best considered methods of network in large organizations. This is very effective. This network propagates group communication, and wherever teamwork is involved, this becomes essential because every person is part of the team. So every member will communicate. He will exchange information with each other very freely. without any kind of hindrance, any kind of obstacle, any kind of hesitation whatsoever. So here we see that no one is the boss, no one is the employee, everyone is approachable. A approaching B, B approaching C, A approaching C, C approaching A approaching G, G approaching A. This B not only approaches A, but he is free to approach C as well as D. Similarly, okay, let me come to the screen first. Alright. So similarly, G is approaching A also, he can approach D also, he can approach B also and C also. So there is a very healthy communication relationship between A, B, C, D, G, all of them. Anyone can freely communicate with anyone. This is the advantage of this type of star network. It is essential wherever teamwork is required, and mostly everything is teamwork. Individually, there are some certain projects which can be handled, but today's business is so competitive, teamwork is required. So these are the various types of networks that we have studied. You can get a short note on any one kind. With the figures, you have to explain any one of it. Clear? Now, next come to business correspondence and reporting. Business correspondence is very, very important. Reporting, essential part, because everyone is accountable to someone. He has to report to someone telling the details about the progress of the work. There are so many networks for having this kind of communication, and which type of network will be useful in which type of organization. Once again, it depends on the structure of the company, it depends on the size of the company, it depends on the manner of communication required between the employees. Always when we talk about good communication, it relies on the sincerity of the employees who are working in the company, and also it relies on the properly defined processes in the organization. Every person needs to know in which process he has to do what is his role to play. The job profile is very important. Specific information and details need to be conveyed to the employees so that they can abide by them and they can produce successful results. So these parameters, in turn, they will help the organization achieve its objectives, its targets in getting more profits, getting more sales. Okay. Now, what are the various characteristics of effective communication? Communication for humans is like breathing for us. We cannot live without communicating. Man is a social animal. We have been listening since ages, right? We are social animals because we are living in a society with families, friends. We are surrounded by so many people. We need to talk to them. The moment we got born, from the first cry of the baby till our last breath, communication is a daily essential part of our life. Every now and then we need to ask or reply, right? Anything, right? Good communication is an art, and that is why we need to work hard to develop it and to improve it, to enhance it. These effective communicators, they practice every aspect of the skill very frequently, and our everyday communication is very important because there are certain times it is marred by confusions or misunderstandings and misconceptions, partial understanding, obscurity. depending upon the other person, the way you are communicating and the way different way he's taking. There are so many times we have so many misunderstandings, we have clashes. Why? Because this is one very common sentence used in our day to day life. I never meant that. Now, if you never meant it, why the other person took that meaning? There must have been some kind of verbal, non-verbal, or appearance wise or physical non-verbal communications that portrayed that idea, your gestures, your tones. Somewhere, somehow, something went against, opposite, which actually led the other person to think the way you never meant. And that is the various reasons for which effective communication is must. And while interacting with others, we need to focus on various aspects. And what are these aspects? This is what we are going to study in this lecture in this particular topic under this heading. Very, very important things to be applied in our practical lives also. First thing is clarity. Any kind of spoken or written communication should be clear. It should directly state the purpose of the message very, very clearly. The other person should, just after looking, listening, reading any type of communication you are doing, just after that communication, he should know what exactly you mean to say. The clarity in speech, the clarity in idea, the clarity in concept, it should be given to the listener. And for that, the language should be such that it should be simple to understand for the other person. We should use short sentences. Why? Because when we are using very, very long sentences, the actual crux, the core message is lost because the sentences are so long, they are so convoluted. That is why the listener at times he gets messed up, mixed up. Each idea or point should be explained separately. If we are talking about written communication, it should be in a separate bulleted points or paragraphs. The way we are doing, we are putting these bullets for conveying all the separate points. Why? Because this way it becomes easy for the reader to grasp the intent of the communique. What exactly is being communicated? You are able to relate because it is in bullets form, in points form. That is the main reason why I have arranged them in such a way that we have a particular different heading, then we have all the separated points related to that heading, then we are leaving a space in between, another point in another thing with different colors, underlining. What are these? These are all the various ways in which we actually are trying that you as a student who are listening to this lecture, who are reading all these topics from the screen, they should be able to differentiate each and everything clearly, and they should actually, you should actually get the crux, the idea, the point behind every bullet. So this is very important. First thing is clarity. In fact, all the things we are going to discuss will be important, but this is the first thing, clarity. Coming to the second aspect of good communication is it should be concise. Brevity needs to be there because it is the essence of business communication. There is no need of saying the same thing again and again or making a long presentation. No one has the time to read long drawn out essays. And who is the better judge other than you people? There are so many times in so many lectures, maybe it's my lecture or any other teacher's lecture, there are so many times that you get bored. And it is quite common. It is natural. It happened with us also. But we need to relate. We need to realize that whatever we are studying, it is for our future, our career. And that is why we need to restrict ourselves from getting bored or from getting distracted. We need to be sincere. Clear? So we need to be concise in communication and focused on whatever we are looking at. If we are making any longer presentations, the core content is lost, right? In communication, whether it is verbal or written, we should avoid using too many irrelevant words or irrelevant adjectives. There are certain times in our daily life that we use very irrelevant things, and it is so common that we don't even think about it. For example, you are going back home from the school, and the moment your mom sees you, what does she say? Have you come back? Arey, you can see me. Come on, I am here, I am back. This is quite irrelevant. But this is a normal gesture, normal expression that we do. We go to somebody's house, we see that he is eating lunch. Oh, are you having lunch? No, I'm not having lunch. I'm trying to hypnotize the food in the plate kept on in front of me on the table. So these are irrelevant words, right? For example, this is quite common actually. We are habitual of saying all these things. That is why we don't even relate. What we say is, you see, I mean to say. You see, I mean to say. Why we are using these two things for the same thing? So we have to ensure, we have to make sure that there are no repetitions. Because the more we are going to repeat anything, the worse it is going to become for the listener. It will be making it uninteresting. So it needs to be concise, to the point, spot on. Next aspect of good communication is it should be concrete. Means the content of your communique should be tangible. It should be based on facts and figures. Why? Because if you are putting any abstract ideas, if you are giving any vague thoughts, then they are liable to misinterpretation. You need to make sure that you have got sufficient details to support your case, to support your idea, to support your argument, to support anything that you are saying. And these supporting things, these details should bring focus to the main message. This is what an effective communication or business reporting should be like. Next aspect is that we need to be taking care of is that it needs to be coherent. Why? Because when we are coherent in writing and speech, what does it means? It means that there is a logical bridge between words, sentences and paragraphs. We need to be consistent in our flow of thoughts, main ideas, main actual meaning. If it becomes difficult for the reader to follow just because we are not getting consistently throughout on a one particular plot, we are jumping around from one idea to the another, we are using contradictory words to express something, how exactly do we expect our listener to get what we want to say? So we need to build up a plot to say something, and we need to continue with that such a way that the listener is actually able to relate the sequence of the things. They are relevant, related to each other. They are not irrelevant things just spoken at random. Fine. So if you want to be coherent, you need to be sequentially organized. You need to logically present the information so that the listener, the reader, he or she should be able to understand all these things easily. When we are writing something, all the contents under one particular topic, they should be relevant, they should be interconnected, and very importantly, the information should be in a flow. Whenever you have been writing any particular letter or article or speech or debate or anything till now, you have worked out on a way, and that ways, first of all, we want to convey the basic details, the base of the topic. Then we write the details. When we are writing the details, for example, if I am writing a paragraph or an essay on crime or global warming, then if I start up with causes, in that case I will write 3, 4, 5 causes continuation wise. Then I will write and focus on what are the effects of this particular problem. Then I will focus on what exactly are the suggestions in order to remove this problem. We don't write like one cause and then one suggestion, one another cause, then the effect of that cause, then suggestion. No, we write all the causes in continuation. That flow should be there. Okay, they should be interconnected topics. So this is called coherence. The next thing that we need to work out on by way of good communication is completeness. Communicate all the details completely, because it will convey all the facts, all the information that is being asked by, that is being required by the recipient, by the listener. Now, this complete information, it keeps in mind the receiver's intellect, how wise he is, about his attitude, and then it conveys the message accordingly. If the communication is complete, it is always good, both sides, because the speaker has conveyed everything, the encoder has conveyed everything, and on the basis of this whole detail, the detailed information, the decoder will be able to analyze and accordingly send the response or the feedback. And when it comes to the organizations and the companies, it helps in building the company's reputation. It helps in having better decision making related to all the relevant and required information which is available by the receiver, because he has got all the details. Now he can analyze, he can interpret, and accordingly he can make out, he can draw out his conclusions and take a decision. Fine. The next thing is courteousness. When we are communicating, if we are rude, that will destroy the purpose of communication. So, courtesy in your communication, it shows that you are polite, you are considerate, you are respectful, you are open, and you are honest with the receiver. Nobody likes the bossism. Nobody likes somebody on the head. Everybody expects some courtesy, because everyone has self-respect. So we need to be courteous, right? Whenever we are providing any kind of message or any idea or thought, we need to take into consideration the viewpoints and the feelings of the receiver also. How he is going to feel, what exactly will be his viewpoint. We need to make a note of that also. While we are talking, while we are speaking, while we are writing something, any form of communication, any pattern, any method, we need to make sure that we are not using anything offensive. There should be no hidden negative tone being included in our communication, because that may lead to negativities. Fine. So we need to be courteous while communicating. A very, very, very important part of any effective communication is listening. I'm sure you all must have got at least one person in your acquaintance or in your knowledge, a person who you find to be irritating because he is not in the habit of listening. He speaks and only speaks. He participates, he or she, whoever may be, he or she participates in a communication only when they have to speak themselves. They do not listen. Listening is very important, because unless until you listen properly, you will not be able to comprehend. If you are not able to comprehend what the speaker is trying to convey, how actually you are going to give your response accordingly? So for better understanding, listening is must. We normally listen so many things. You are at the moment listening to me. So we are literally bombarded by the noises and the sounds. Whenever we are awake, we don't see any kind of quietness, pin drop silence, hardly any pin drop silence around us. So many things going on, conversations between different people, news or the gossips, or any other form of speech. I'm not saying it's pleasant or unpleasant. I'm not saying it's good or bad, but so many things, right? The birds are chirping, we listen to them. That is also kind of sound that we hear. Different people talking, vehicles honking, the various sounds, everything. But whatever is reaching our ears, do you listen to everything willingly and carefully? No. And that is the main reason why most of that, major part of it, it goes wasted. It's not understood, or it's partially understood, or it is simply misunderstood. So we need to be a good communicator, but side by side, for good communication, it is must that you need to be a good listener too. Because communication is not that one person is speaking and speaking and speaking and the other person is just listening and listening. No. At the moment I am teaching you people, it's not a communication between us. It's not a two-way communication. It's just one-way communication. It is communication, but one way. Right? And for that, you need to be a good listener. Because once you become a good listener, you are not only listening to the words spoken by me, but you will be able to observe very carefully all the non-verbal cues to understand the complete message. So your focus is must. A good listener, he absorbs the given information, and then after gaining all the details, he will process all that data in his mind. He will understand what exactly is the context in which these words were being spoken, what is the meaning, and based on all these he will form an accurate and reasoned and intelligent response, depending upon his attitude, depending upon his own wisdom. Clear? While we are communicating, we should be a good listener, and being a good listener means we need to be objective, we need to be practical, and importantly, we need to be in control of our emotions. There are so many times when the emotions of a person actually lead to his understanding of the sentences in a different way. He is going to judge the various conclusions in altogether a different manner. The various opinions, the various reactions of what is being said, that all depends on our own attitude and state of mind. There are times when, if our mother is asking us, would you like to eat something? Are you hungry? We feel the sentence so soothing because we are hungry. If she wouldn't have asked, we would have asked to give us something. But if you are having some pain, stomach ache, headache, you are having fever, you don't feel like eating. The same sentence at that time repeatedly asking, would you like something to eat? Would you like something to eat? That is going to irritate you. What do you say in these times? I've told you once I don't want to eat, nah? So why are you asking again and again? Now this is actually because of your own irritation level, your own state of mind. And it happens so many times that if we are frustrated over something, if we are angry with some other person, actually it is shown to the third person in our talks, in our gestures, in our body language, in our tonal quality, in our responses, the way we see everything. So we need to have a control over our emotions. We need to focus on the individual who is speaking, and we need to try to relate his agenda, why he's speaking. And if you are a perceptive listener, if you are a good listener, you will be able to satisfy your customer. You will be able to suggest the solutions as per the needs of the client, because after mm, listening to that client, now you are able to relate what exactly he wants. Accordingly, you will give the solution. Fine. So it's not only a good speaker, but a good listener also, which completes a good communication between two people. You cannot clap with one hand. You need another hand. Maybe it's your own or anybody else. You need any other surface. You cannot produce noise by just throwing your arm in the air. You can't do it. Two people are required, and both of them need to be good listeners. Next is, you need to put on your focus and attention. So many multiple activities we are doing every time simultaneously. We are watching TV also and having a book open in front of us. We are reading also. We are doing two activities. We are having the headphones on the ears. We are listening to songs, and side by side we are studying something. We are eating, or side by side we are listening to songs. We are eating, keeping the plate on the table in front of the television. We are watching something side by side. So it is all multiple activities going on simultaneously most of the times in our lives. For example, the phone is ringing, incoming email, number of tasks which require your attention, and they will cause anxiety related to work. They can cause emotional distress, and all these things can distract you. And such distractions, they are detrimental to the communication process, whether it is a two-way communication between two people or a group of people. Fine, you need to focus, because if you don't do it, you may overlook, or maybe you may completely miss some important points or cues in the interaction that may cause sufferings, whether it's a business loss or any other thing. So we need to keep our focus, we need to keep our attention, during the communique is imperative for effective communication. Focusing and paying attention is important. The next and the last step that we need to relate in effective communication is emotional awareness and control. Human behavior is not under the only control of emotions or deliberations, but results from the interaction of these two processes. This is a very apt statement given by Lowenstein. Lowenstein gave this statement that human behavior is not under the sole control of emotions. No, emotions play a very major role in our interactions with other people, because most of the time it is just our emotions that we want to convey, that we want to share. That is why we are interacting, that is why we are communicating. All the informal communication done, mostly it's emotions that are playing. These emotions are a powerful force, and this powerful force affects our perception of reality regardless of how hard we try to be unbiased. If we are emotional, if we are not having any kind of control over ourselves, we cannot be unbiased. All these intense emotions, they can undermine a person's capacity for any kind of logical decision making. There are so many times when an individual is aware, he knows that he has to make careful decisions, but there are so many times out of our emotions, our sensitiveness, we make wrong decisions at that time, which we repent later. It has been rightly said that a word spoken in anger, at times it causes so much of damage that is much more than any physical damage caused. So emotional awareness, very much necessary element of good communication, but we need to have a control. We need to understand what exactly is your state of mind at the moment. What exactly is the state of mind of the person whom you are talking to? What are the circumstances that have brought you here to carry on this discussion? You need to relate all these things. And if you are able to manage your emotions, if you are able to manage the emotions of the other person and then communicate, you already are aware of the emotional state of the other person who is talking to you right now or whom you are talking to. If you manage your emotions, if you understand what is the state of mind the other person is, then it helps in smooth interaction and breakdown of the communication process. So it is very important for any particular person who is communicating that he or she needs to relate all these points, take care of all these points while we are having a communication with anyone. Fine. So this is all that we'll be taking up in this lecture. Quite importantly, we studied about the various networks. Very importantly, we studied about the various aspects involved in good communication. I hope everything was crystal clear and you were able to understand everything. Now, once again, after every class, one advice: do all these things side by side. Short notes may come. Theoretically, this topic is very important that we have done. And when we are talking about the various aspects, please try to relate the points, because once you are actually you have learned the points, you can explain it in your own words. You don't have to just cram up everything, but the points you need to remember. Clear? So this is all about today's class. I hope you must have enjoyed today's class, knowing so many things which are going to help you in future in your personal life while communicating with others. Let's hope you should be able to relate and you will be able to apply in your life also. We'll meet with the next topic of the same chapter in the next class. Till then, study hard, take care of your health, and have a good day.